Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Kill yourself.
The fuck
Please kill yourself.
the fuck.
You should really kill yourself.
Hey, how's it going? And off. That's weird. How about that? Yep, there we go. Okay, welcome to the second episode of my podcast. Hopefully it will be somebody's podcast. Just before I start rambling about garbage, look in the description down below and you will find an email. Contact me if you have a question or if you I'm looking for a partner currently. If you want to join on, email me. We can meet up on Skype or Discord or anything and we'll chat it out and see how it goes. Anyways, let's move on to our first discussion. Our first discussion being, you probably noticed the title of this episode, and there's a reason why it's named that. The first thing I'm going to talk about is a list. Now, I don't like gender politics. I think they're really dumb and meaningless. That's just my opinion. I often avoid it whenever possible, because it has no impact on me as a person. I'm just going to say this straight out from the get-go. Yes, I am a white, straight male. So no, I am not affected by any of these gender politics or anything like that. Although, I will say that in this life, everybody has advantages and disadvantages surrounding them, no matter what kind of person they are. Some people would tend to disagree, and some would say that, hey, more people have an advantage in life, and that's true to an extent, but everybody has their problems to deal with. So I got this fucking list that I found just by putting in a random Google search. And it's literally just a comprehensive, this is what it says. By the way, it's on a website called itspronouncedmetrosexual.com. And it's a comprehensive asterisk, which is the star thing that you see on your keyboard sometimes. Comprehensive asterisk list of LGBTQ plus vocabulary definitions. Now, reading that already gives me a headache, mostly because I hate reading, but also because I don't want to think about all these definitions that they probably have lined up, because they probably went overboard. There are a lot of lists out there nowadays that talk about pronouns and certain different types of labels that people like to put on, like different pairs of clothing, like, oh, I'm this today. It's a bunch of bullshit. So let's read some of them, shall we? Advocate. 1. Noun. A person who actively works to end intolerance. Well, I guess that... Well, I don't think that advocate necessarily means that they're working towards ending intolerance. I think it's... Well, I mean, if it's an advocate, it's a person who feels strongly about something. I think they're just kind of retrofitting that word. But I guess in the sense of the LGBTQ whatever, that it makes sense. That yes, that would be an advocate. Somebody would, for gender politics, they'd be an advocate for gender politics. agender, a person with no or very little connection to the traditional system of gender. The traditional system of gender, which is male or woman. There is no in between. You are either a male or a woman. Now, personally, I believe that there are only males and females. But I also am okay with people going around saying, I'm this or that. You know, if a person says, oh, I'm a woman, but they were born a man, like, yeah, okay, fine, you're a woman. I don't really care. Because it has nothing to do with me. Like, you go, as long, if it makes you happy and nobody's getting hurt, have at it. But yeah, anyways, agender. No personal alignment with concepts of either man or woman. So what they are is they're genderless, is what this thing is stating, I think. But why not just say genderless? Like, what are they, a Ken doll? Do they just have no genitalia down there? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, there are two things nowadays. There's your sex and your gender in gender politics. Your sex is like the biological thing. Like, oh yes, this person has a penis. Or this person has a vagina. But then there's like, whatchamacallit, there's like, and then there's your gender, which is, I guess, on a scale or something? Or is it like, you have male and female on opposite ends, and then the rest of them are somewhere in the middle. At least that's how I have come to realize it. But anybody you can be at any point on the scale. I guess agender would be in the middle, because you're just, you don't exactly go to either side. You kind of just fit in the middle. But a lot of these kind of fit near the middle, so whatever. Ally. A typical straight or cisgender. Cisgender, by the way, it's more used as a slur nowadays to attack hetero folk like myself. But it means that we're confined to the normality that has always been accepted. But anyways, we'll just say straight, cisgender. They're interchangeable. Straight, cisgender. Person who supports and respects the members of blah 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 of the LGBT community. We consider these people to be active allies who take action on in support and respect. Okay, so am I an ally of the LGBT, the fucking community? No, I'm not an ally by their definition, because their definition, even though it kind of gives like a bland, kind of very like, they just support and respect us. It's more along the lines of they just agree with everything we say. And it's like, even if you dole out the slightest criticism, like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. They're just like, well, I guess you're not an ally. I guess you're not a friend of ours if you're starting to question our way of life. It's like they can't be criticized or something. Arguing with them is completely useless. It's just better to leave them alone and just let them do what they want. Because as long as they're happy and they're having a good time in their little community, I don't really see a problem with them. There are other people that would disagree and say that these people are a menace to our country, and most of those people are conservative, religious people that I don't often agree with. We'll get to religion one day, but not today. Coming out as an ally is when you reveal blah blah blah. Being active supporter, yeah, okay. Here's one that I can't. This is when words are going to start. This is when words are going to start like tripping me up because I have problems pronouncing words sometimes. Androgynous, androgyny, or androgynous. Okay. A gender expression that has elements of both masculinity and femininity. Okay. So, what this basically is telling me is that it's an omnivore of sexuality. It's both male and female. This is my problem with a lot of these labels, is that why can't you just be a man that likes to do girly things, or a woman that likes to do manly things? Why does it have to be a label? Like, that's what I never really understood. They're trying to normalize. They're trying to put people, these types of people, like, mix them in with the rest of the common folk, and the best way to make it normal, in my opinion, is to not treat it like it's special, like it should be celebrated. Like, if you want to celebrate it in it like a group, like a parade or something, like, that's all fine and dandy, or have like a support group or something like that. You can do that. But in normal society where people are just going their day-to-day lives, just act normal, just act like, oh yes, I'm gay. That's like, don't even bring it up in the conversation. Or if you like see a man running around and he's wearing a skirt, don't go up to him and just like, hey, why are you wearing that skirt? Just be like, oh, he's wearing a skirt, okay. Just like some people like to do this or like to do that. They have interests. Just leave it at that. There's no reason to label with these pointless, meaningless, these meaningless definitions. What is this? Androsexual. Being primarily sexual, romantic, or emotional, attracted to some men, males, or masculinity. What does that mean? Like, you're only attracted to some men, but not all men? Okay. Next one. Aromantic. Like, aromantic, but aromantic. I'm just gonna... Experiencing little or no romantic attraction to others, or has a lack of interest in romantic relationships or behavior. Okay. So this one makes a little bit more sense to me, because this is like, oh, this is a person who, like, let's say your buddy Bob, he doesn't have a girlfriend. He isn't looking for anybody. He just goes day to day. He has his hobby. That is a person that I would call romantically uninterested. He's not interested in romantics. And I guess aromantic is a shorter way of saying it, so I'll give that one a check. Asexual. This one makes no sense to me. A person can't be asexual. Because the idea of asexual is that they reproduce, like a singular person can, or a singular organism can reproduce asexually. They don't need, like a spider. Like, a spider can, like, lay eggs. It doesn't need to have sex with another spider. At least I'm pretty sure on that. I'm gonna look that up now. Do spiders need to have sex to lay eggs? Let's see, how do spiders reproduce? No, they need to have sex. Huh. I I don't know why I thought spiders were asexual. Well, anyways, forgetting that moment of stupidity, asexual for me is like, well, let's use the cell, because that one's a little more concrete. Like, cells reproduce other cells asexually because they split apart and then they grow into two new cells. They multiply, they replicate. That would be an asexual. If a person could, let's say, rip off their finger, and from their finger grows an entirely new person, that's asexual. So the fact that they're classifying a person and like that, oh yeah, that's my sexuality, I'm asexual. Like that, no, that's stupid. Now, what they could say instead is that, oh, I'm not interested in having a romantic relationship with anybody. That's all you gotta say. Saying asexual just confuses somebody, especially if they know a thing or two about science. You're saying asexual. It's like, wait, no, do they, what do? Do you just like rip off the finger and another person grows? No. That's stupid. Bigender. A person who fluctuates between traditionally woman and man gender-based behaviors and identifying it with both genders and sometimes a third gender. What the fuck? Okay. So, it's like, bigender sounds like schizophrenia to me. It literally sounds like sometimes I act like a man, but then sometimes I act like a woman, but I'm still me, but I have different. It's just overcomplicating things. No, okay, so fuck schizophrenia. It's overcomplicating how a person acts. Like Bob. Let's go back to Bob. Bob likes to drive muscle cars and he likes to build them, but Bob also likes to wear a skirt every once in a while, or women's underwear. That's not. Bob is still a man, but Bob likes to do different kinds of things. You don't need to have a label, like Bob's bigender. Sometimes he acts like a woman and other times acts like a man. No, that's fucking stupid. Bob is a man, but he likes to do womanly things sometimes, and other times he likes to do manly things. Things that we classify under the two genders, that people who are one gender or the other, they like to do these certain things because they're that gender. It's so fucking stupid. And I don't get what this parentheses thing, and sometimes a third gender. Sometimes a third gender? There is no third gender. Well, not unless you live in California, where now they're actually saying there's male, female, and non-binary. And I don't know what that is. I'm gonna look it up later. Non-binary is like, I think, somewhere in the middle. Like, it's like you're not sure. You're not sure whether you're a male or a girl, or a male or a female, and they're just like, oh well, you're non-binary, somewhere in the middle. I don't get it. Biological sex. Oh, I guess this is like talking about like the actual, whatever. Let's skip that one. That's talking about the actual like sex, like out of a biology textbook. Biphobia, a range of negative attitudes like fear, anger, intolerance, invisibility, resentment, and discomfort and erasure. That one may have or express towards bisexual individuals. Biphobia can come from and be seen within the LGBT community. I don't feel like saying Q, by the way, because it was a lot easier when it was just LGBT. Now that there's this LGBTQ, it's just, no, that's too many letters. It was fine when it was at 4. community, they might as well just have like all their definitions for like sexualities. They should just had all the letters, because why do you only have the 5 letters? Why don't you have fucking asexual? Why isn't it LGBTQA? It's dumb. Anyways, biphobia can come from and be seen within the biphobic. A word can be used to describe an individual who harbors some elements. Okay. I am not, whatever this definition is, a biphobia. I don't have biphobia. If a man or woman wants to sleep around with both genders, that's their prerogative and their business. They're mostly talking about the religious nuts who care about this shit. It's like, don't screw, because God doesn't like it when you do that. Yeah, bisexual. So, I've never met somebody who's bisexual. And I'd like to think that if I did, I mean, I've had gay friends before. Like, people say, "Oh, I'm gay." You know what? No, that's wrong. I've had a friend that was bisexual, and he was a person. You know, he was a person that I enjoyed company with. And I remember one time somebody telling me, "Oh, by the way, Jim, yeah, he's bisexual," and I'm like, "Yeah, so why are you telling me this?" I'm like, or you know what? No, you know what? I was more on the lines of like, "Oh, really? Oh, that's cool, I guess." Like, I just didn't care. Like, whenever somebody tells me, "Oh, by the way, I'm this," and I'm like, "Okay, you're this then." It doesn't hold like any relevance to me. It's just like, I'm here talking to you because we share interests and things that you talk about. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not interested in any of this garbage. Butch. A person who identifies themselves as masculine, whether physically, mentally, emotionally. Butch is sometimes used as a derogatory term for lesbians, but it can also be claimed as an affirmation identity label. What the hell is an affirmation identity label? But getting back to the derogatory term part for lesbians. Now, the one that I've always heard people use is the classical one. Dyke. She's a dyke. I don't know where that comes from, but I find the idea of 2 women making out to be sexually stimulating. Sorry, I had a cough there. The idea of 2 girls making out, of course they're in my male fantasy, they're hot. They're not like 2 fat women making out. The 2, I'm in the closet and I'm watching them like a creepy piece of shit. Watching them make out, and they're like in their bra and panties. Like, that I find sexually attractive. Like, the idea. I don't really care if you're a lesbian. If you want to fuck other women, then at least we can sit next to each other and talk about all the women we see. It's like, oh, that girl's really hot. And I want my lesbian friend to say, oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, she's got a big ass. You know? Okay, cisgender. Okay, so this is great, because I can finally figure out what cisgender means, because I've been hearing it on the internet all the time, and I just assumed it was like a same word for like straight, a person whose gender identity and biological sex is assigned at birth align. Oh, okay. So it's a normal person that just says, "Oh, I have a penis, then I'm a male." Okay. So yeah, that makes sense. Cis means the... Oh, okay. So they actually like brought Latin into this. Cis sexism, behavior that grants preferential treatment to cisgender people. reinforces the idea that cisgender is somehow better or more right than being transgender. Okay. Being cisgender person doesn't make me better than anybody. The only thing that it makes me is I share a common fact with most of the population, is that I'm cisgender like the rest of them. I don't believe that me being cisgender I have some advantage over people. Well, I suppose that the society just sees me as some other person or whatever, but to them they're like, oh well, society sees you as this pillar that I just this pillar of standards to uphold. I don't know. Like, it doesn't make any sense, really. The idea that, like, I can understand persecution maybe like 20 to 30 years ago, but things are changing, you know? Things are getting better. There's not as much persecution as there was like 20 years ago. And if you want to push that wheel along, and honestly, I'm all for it. I don't really care. The normalization again of this whole LGBTQ thing is not to make a big fuss about it. Just treat it like, oh yes, we're here. Like, don't even announce it. Like, just act like it's always been here, like it's always been normal. And then people will just be like, yeah, they don't really care, so I don't really care. Now, not everybody is going to be easily swayed, but don't worry. Give it like 30, 50 years later, and the generation that mostly hates the LGBT community will be all dead or don't agree with their ideals. And slowly, by time, you'll get your wish. I apologize if you face any horrible treatment because you've decided to wear this personality or label on your chest like a badge and say, this is what I am, and people like took offense to that. I apologize if that, because I would never treat you like that. I would treat you as Jim or Jane or Carly or whatever your fucking name is. I treat you as a person, because I don't really give a shit about what you are or who you are. I just want to know if you're a good person or not, and if we can hang out, and if we can talk about things, because that's what I really care about when I'm looking for people to like hang out with and share topics of discussion. That's what I get out of humanity. God, we're only on C, and it feels like I've been here for an eternity. Cis normality, the assumption that blah blah blah, everybody is cisgendered. Okay, so this one, cis normality, is basically stating that people just assume that everyone that they meet is straight, which is a fine assumption to make because most people are straight, usually. Now, not everybody's straight, obviously, because otherwise this list wouldn't exist. At least one person would have to, because they wrote this list. I would automatically assume that somebody's straight before I was told otherwise. I don't know why people would get upset about something like that. Like, let's say if I was gay, and somebody says, yo dude, and they just met me, by the way. We're at a bar, we're chatting up, and then he looks over and sees like a bunch of hot girls, and it's like, dude, aren't those girls hot? And as soon as I heard that, I wouldn't be like, whoa, man, are you assuming you know what I am? Of course he's assuming, because that's the closest approximation that he could guess. You're a man, so probability-wise, it comes down to probability. You probably like girls. Now, I would be like, nah, I'm not interested in girls. I'm gay. And the guy would either the guy would be like, oh, okay, well, that's cool, I guess, because he would be me and not care. Or he could be like, ew, you're gay, get away from me. And there are some people that are like that. You're just not going to change their minds. Because they're, I don't know, retarded or something like that. They just can't see past the label. The label that shouldn't be there in the first place, because it only just trivializes everything. But hey, if you want to put on labels, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. Let's see, what else is there? I know what a cross-dresser is. Someone who wears clothes of another gender or sex. Well, that's the same thing, but whatever. I've never met... No, I've met a cross-dresser. But I think he called himself trans, so is that different? I have no idea. Demisexual. I don't know what demisexual is, but let's find out. A little or no capacity to experience sexual attraction until a strong romantic or emotional connection is formed. Okay, so this is a person, demisexual is saying here, that you're a person who has no want or need of a sexual relationship until you accidentally form one. Because it doesn't even say, like, accidentally. It just says until a strong romantic or emotional... If you have no capacity for it, then how can you gain an emotional connection? Little or no capacity. No capacity means that you have... You're just not going to. You're never going to. Why even have this? We had one earlier. It was like asexual or something. That says you had little or no capacity and you never. So this one's stupid. Down low. Referring to men who identify straight but secretly have sex with men. Okay, that's dumb. Drag queen and drag king. Okay, these are people who dress up. Yes, dyke. Referring to masculine presenting lesbian, a male-ish sort of lesbian, a lesbian that gives off a manly presence. That's what a dyke is considered. Or usually it's used to describe like unattractive lesbians, like she's a dyke. Now me personally, I would never call somebody a dyke. I'd probably call them a faggot. Sorry, that was a joke. I was supposed to. That was kind of like the pull wool over your eyes. You like think he's gonna say something nice, but actually he says something bad. No. What I would do is, I'd say, okay, so they're attracted to women and they're showing masculine traits. Well, that's just a person. This idea that we need to give labels out for positive or negative things is ridiculous. It's a lot. The reason why people do that, though, is because it's easy to do that. It's easy to group people, and it's mostly because we don't feel like taking the time to get to know each other. And I think that's the main problem with not just with the gender, like the gender hatred, but also like the sexism, the racism, everything. It all comes from the general term of laziness and not wanting to take the time to get to know people, because maybe you have disagreements, maybe to them they seem like different or weird or scary. It's this fear of the unknown that we hold, that all humans hold on to, and it's like they're different than us. We don't want to understand them. We just want to get them away by any means possible. If we have to eradicate them, if we have to ship them away, if we have to avoid them, like that's how we function as human beings. And to change that, where we're all accepting and we all seek to understand and learn and love each other, is a pipe dream. But I will say it would be quite the accomplishment if there was some way to achieve it. The only way in my mind that you could achieve it is like creating a kind of hive mind scenario. But that would take all the individuality. You see, it's the individuality that makes the world so interesting and wonderful. A lot of it can be, how should I say? It can be chaotic and not always squeaky clean. And the fact that people are trying to wrap everything up in bubble wrap to make it safe for even the smallest of minorities that are afraid of their feelings getting hurt. Like, maybe instead of like safe proofing the world, we should learn to safe proof ourselves. Learn how to take criticisms and not care about what people say to us. When somebody insults me now, when somebody says he's an idiot, he's a retard, he's an asshole, he's a cisgendered piece of shit. When people say stuff like that to me, you know what I do? I just shrug it off. You know? Why should I care what they think? Now, there are a lot of people out there that are going to say, well, you know, it's because he's so privileged or whatever that he can just say that stuff and it just rubs off. It just rubs away, bounces off him. But I really think, I seriously think, that everybody can do that if they just try. But not everybody wants to try. Everybody would rather, everybody has their own way of coping with it, so who am I to judge? Good God. We've been going on for a while. This shit. Let me check the timer. Okay. That's pretty okay. Okay, let's continue. Gender binary. The idea that there are only two genders and that every person is one of those two. So I am in the belief of gender binary. It says that it's a noun, so I guess the thing, I mean, it's a term. But anyways, let's be straight here. Biologically, there are only two different genders, male and female. There are people that are born with, there are people who are born with, problems, like birth defects, where they have both a vagina and a penis or testicles or whatever. And I think they call them hermaphrodites. I could be wrong on that. But I think that's the technical term for that. They call them hermaphrodites. After, like, the Greek goddess, Hermaphrodites or something. Aphrodites, I don't know. Hermaphrodites, the goddess. The external display of one's gender. Gender expression. Yeah. Okay. Here's one that I don't get. Gender fluid. Gender fluid is a gender identity. So far now we're at like 5 or 6 genders. I think more. Gender fluid. A gender fluid is a gender identity best described as a dynamic mix of boy and girl. So once again, we have this in between, kind of in the middle. There's been about 3 or 4 of these where it's a mix, it's a cross between a boy and a girl. They're somewhere in the middle. A person who is gender fluid may always feel like a mix of the 2 traditional genders, but they may feel more man some days and more woman other days. I don't get this one. Some days they wake up and it's like, oh, I feel like a man now. Or other days they wake up and I feel like a woman now. Do they... Again, it feels like a schizophrenia. It feels like a schizophrenia situation where it's like one day I woke up and I was Jim, my one personality, but then I woke up the next day and I was Jane, my other personality. I'm not saying that these people people who say this have schizophrenia, because that is a serious case of mental illness. But that's what it sounds like when they're describing this. It's like some days they feel like this person, and other days they feel like this person. I don't know. It's just weird to me how it can just switch on and off like that. Like, is there a separate gland in the brain that sometimes people are born with that just it's like an electric switch in their brain that just kind of, it's like, now you're on the male setting, now you're on the female setting, and it's broken, and it's just going back and forth every time. Like, next day I'm a man and next day I'm a woman. That would be interesting though, like if a person like overnight changed genders. It's like, oh, today I'm a man, better get my man clothes. That would make life unbearable. Like, imagine having to buy 2 sets of clothing that you wear at your profession, like in an office setting. It's like, oh, so Jane's with us today, okay. You'd have to get 2 fucking licenses. And two social, would you have to get this 2 social security numbers? Would you also have to get, like, I don't know, like, would you have to, like, register, like, for 2 separate people? Like, all the time. It would get tedious. So, gender fluid. That's retarded. Gender identity. Yeah, okay, don't care about that. Gender queer. A gender identity label often used by people who do not identify with the binary of man or woman. Okay, so then what are you? There's no in between. Or as an umbrella term for many gender non-conforming, non-binary identities. Oh my god, now this is where the headache starts, because now things are just really like, just like all these names they're coming out of, they're just pulling out of their ass at this point. Gynesexual. Gynesexual. Primarily sexually, romantically, or emotionally attracted to some women, females, or femininity. This was like the male one earlier, so gynesexual. Yeah, I'm only attracted to some women, but not all women, so I guess I'm gynesexual. Like, what does that mean? It's called dating preferences. Dating preferences are they're standards used by all people to select their mate, to select the person they want to spend time with, to understand one another and connect on an emotional level, a romantic level, a sexual level. They like the same things I do, so let's talk about those things, or let's do these things together that we like. We're such a pair, you know. But but they're giving these imaginary terms to things that already exist. Dating preferences. You have a preference for who you want to date, who you are sexually attractive to. You can look at white women and be like, nah, I'm not as sexually attracted to white women. But black women I like. I like to date black women. Asians? Nah, I don't like to date Asians. But I do like to date Hispanic people. Like, preferences. They exist. And they don't need stupid terms like gynosexual. Heteronormativity. That's a fucking word. The assumption in individual blah 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 that everyone is heterosexual. That would be interesting if everybody assumed you're homosexual. It's like, no, I actually like what the opposite gender. Heteronormativity is also, yeah, blah blah blah, yeah. Oh the humanity. People are thinking that I'm something, but I'm actually something else. All you gotta do is just correct them and just say, actually, I'm this. End. That's it. You don't have to like pretend the world is against you. If that were true, the world's against everybody, because it always feels like I'm getting the shaft, you know? And I see other people, they're always getting the shaft too. The world's against... It's like the world versus the world. The world is unfair. It's unfair for everybody. You don't have to be such a whiny baby about it. Oh, here we go. Hermaphrodite. An outdated medical term previously used... Well, what do they use now if it's outdated? Previously used to refer to someone who was born with a combination of typical male, typically female sexual. Oh, I guess intersex is what they use now. Let's look for intersex, because I'm actually interested. A term for combination. Okay, so for chromosomes, gonads, hormones, internal sex organs, genitalia, different. Yeah, okay. I would not like to be a hermaphrodite or an intersex, whatever. I would not like to have two sets of different genitals, you know. Like, I have a set of male genitals and a set of female genitals. I think, I mean, it would definitely make sex interesting. Like, you could have the male having sex with your lady parts, and then you could also be having sex with a girl. I don't know how that would work, but you could have the girl kind of like top near your top half, and the male's kind of railing you. That all depends, I guess, where the vagina and the penis are. Anyways, yeah, this intersex, I don't know if that's the actual term for hermaphrodite. But these terms are now outdated and derogatory. Wait, are they talking about intersex too? Is intersex derogatory? Oh no, they're just talking about the two terms they've laid out. Here's one that's weird. Lipstick lesbian usually refers to a lesbian. Okay, so this is a lesbian that acts more like a lady and less like a male. Okay. Metrosexual. A man with a strong aesthetic sense who spends more time and energy and money in his appearance and grooming is considered gender normative. Okay. So, metrosexual is a word I would describe somebody like Dave at the office has put a lot of time into his hair, and he smells nice, and he shaves in places that most other males don't. Like, that's metrosexual. He also wears like a scarf, maybe, and dresses well. Honestly, I wish I had the time, money, and most importantly, the motivation to dress up like Dave, because I look like a fat, disgusting slug man. I look like a slug man. And Dave looks like a handsome like a handsome knight fighting for his princess. And I'm the dragon in this scenario because I'm just like blah blah. I am the monster. Yeah, so metrosexual. That's a thing that that's a term I actually agree with. Because that's a real thing. That was a thing that existed before most of these gender politics started taking it to the next level. Mix or schwa. What? This is an actual term. Mix. It's just MX with a period. An honorific. An honorific that is gender neutral. Oh, okay. So when you say the word like Mr. Paul, it's actually Mix Paul. Mix Paul is like that. Where you say where you don't. Mix Smith is a great teacher. They have an example here. That's actually perfect. Thank you for that. Mix Smith is a great teacher. So you have a teacher in there that's working in there. And it's like, oh, his name is he a guy or a girl? No, he's not a guy or a girl. He's just gender neutral. He's in the middle. His name is Mix Smith. Not Mr. or Mrs. Smith. Mix Smith. God, that does not sound right coming off the tongue. But regardless, I mean, if I had a friend or a peer that would want me to call them that, I would be like, you know what? I'll just call you Smith. Because that's too much work for me. I grew up knowing Mr. and Mrs. and that's it. I'm all for change, but I'm going to be honest with you. Not everybody is going to remember that. And like I said, it's laziness. It's laziness. And I accept the fact that I'm lazy and terrible. That I just don't feel like putting in effort learning all this stuff. Because it's just exhausting. I've got more important things to do in my life. And I'm not surrounded by these people where I have to constantly say, remember, mix. Right, I'll say that. Mix. I don't know why they thought MX was a good way of saying that. Mix. It just sounds wrong. Outing. An involuntary or unwanted disclosure of another person's sexual orientation, gender identity, or intersex status. Okay, so you're talking about somebody's So you're talking about something that somebody does not want you to talk about. That's called gossip. Outing is like when it's like a date or a retreat. You're using words that were already invented. Stop doing that. It's stupid, and it doesn't make any sense. Pansexual. A person who experiences sexual, romantic, physical, or spiritual attraction for members of all gender identities and expressions, short for pan. Okay. So, does that mean they're omnisexual? They're attracted, well, I guess pan would be more attracted to all the genders. Like, they'll just fuck any person. Which, isn't that just binary? Like, because like I said earlier, if somebody's by gender, they're only attracted to the two genders that exist. So wouldn't pansexual just be the same thing? Because there are only two genders. Of course, they don't believe that because they believe that pretty much most of the terms that I've listed are genders. But they're not. They're just variations of things or unnecessary labels that have been crafted for people to wear and say, yes, I'm this thing. But pansexual sounds stupid. it makes me think of pancakes. Because I want pancakes right now, and I'm fat, and I like eating pancakes, and this is dumb. This is dumb. PGPs, preferred gender pronouns, often used during introductions, more common in educational situations. Okay. Well, PGPs, again, preferred gender pronouns. If somebody says he or she, and somebody gets annoyed because they're like, hey, I'm not a he or a she, I'm a whatever. I'm sorry. But I'm not going to take the time to... I'm not going to take the time to remember that. You can call me ignorant all you want. But I only do it because I don't care. And because I don't care, man, woman, if you want me to call you like a gender, a non-specific gender pronoun, how about we say asshole? I'll just call you asshole, and that'll be easier. Because everybody's an asshole, you know? It's just like, I get so tired of these people. They put exhausting amounts of time into defending this stuff. And it's just worthless. It's really worthless. All they need to do is just act when there's parts of their personality or identity, if you want to call it that, that may be a little different from one of their two genders that they are, then all they gotta say, I'm a man or I'm a woman that likes to do this, and that's it. That's all you need to do. And it's nobody's business except your own, unless you want to bring somebody into it. These dumb labels, you're just making things more complicated. There's he and there's a she, and that's it. Not everybody is going to remember that, and most people aren't. Schools don't, when they teach kids language or pronouns, they only teach he or she for now. And these kids growing up, they're not going to remember he or she next to all the other pronouns, these pronouns that you've made up for yourself. I don't know. It just seems like extra unneeded work. Just accept the he or she, because at face value, understand that most people do not care. And that it's just something you have to accept and learn to live with. If you get tired of people calling you a he or a she, well then I'm sorry. Life is unfair. There's nothing you can do about it. If you want to do something about it, then advocate until your head falls off. But I don't think you're going to change the world that easily. Queer. This is used to, this is another umbrella term. Yeah, whatever. I don't even care about queer. I've said queer, a few times in my entire life in a conversation. I mostly say gay, faggot, when I'm talking about people from this community, mostly because I'm a very sarcastic, dry person who doesn't really care about people's feelings, usually. I mean, yeah, moving on. Sexual attraction, sexual orientation, and sexual preference. These are all pretty much the same thing. Sexual attraction, it's who you want to have sex with. Sexual orientation, it's who you want to have sex with. Sexual preference, sexual preference, it's who you want to have sex with. I can't believe these are three different fucking things. Sexual attraction, sexual orientation, sexual preference. It's so much work. You gotta hand it to them. They really like to put in effort. But it's just wasted. This one is really weird. Soco-loyal sexual. Soc-leo-sexual. Socleo-sexual? They don't have a pronunciation for this thing, so I'm just going to assume I'm pronouncing it right. Being primarily sexually, romantically, emotionally attracted to some genderqueer, transgender, or transsexual, or non-binary person. So, if you're attracted to somebody who's one of those middle bench fence sitters, where they can't decide whether they're a male or a female, I'm just gonna sit on the fence. You're attracted to those people. Scoliosexual sounds like you have a disease. Like your doctor comes in and says like, oh, by the way, Mark, you have scoliosexual disease. And it's like, no. And he like cries and he's like, so how long do I have? And he's like, the doctor's like, you only have 2 weeks before your dick rots off. And it's just like, oh, shit. Spiritual attraction. A capacity that invokes the want to engage in intimate behavior based on one's experience, interpretation of, or belief in the supernatural. So this one is about, what I think it's about is being attracted to somebody who is into a religion or is into ghosts or whatever. It's just, it says religious teachings, messages from a deity, but that could mean anything. That could be a cult. That could be a main modern religion like Christianity, Muslim, Islam, Buddhists, Hindus. So you're sexually attracted to somebody who has religious beliefs. Okay. Stealth. Or self. Stealth. Yeah, okay, stealth. I don't know why I second guess myself. It's mostly because a lot of these words are weird. A trans person who is not out as a trans and is perceived by others to be cisgender. Okay, so there's another word that exists, and it's called trap. Now, trap is a gender term that people do not like in this community. And there's been a lot of jokes going around recently about traps. And, oh, it's a trap. Watch out. And I thought the whole thing was hilarious, of course, because I have a good sense of humor, unlike these people. But a stealth is such a weird thing to say, because I guess stealth is supposed to make you feel cool. Like, oh, I'm tricking all these cisgender people into believing I'm one of them. Where trap is like, oh, watch out, man. You don't want to touch that thing. It's a trap. So I guess that's why they call it a stealth instead of a trap, because trap sounds negative. Third gender. There is no third gender. Top surgery. Construction of the male chest. Or breast augmentation for the okay. So it's just it's getting plastic surgery. Just call it plastic surgery. You don't have to call it anything. Don't call it top surgery. Just call it, they got plastic surgery. Where'd you get it on? I got it on my chest. Done. Trans. Okay, so this is the umbrella term for people who feel like they're one thing, but they're actually another. So, here's my thought on transgendered people. They're the ones that seem to be hated the most because they try to break the usual constraints of what a man or what a female is. And a lot of people out there take offense to that. Those guys are idiots. Because who cares whether a person wants to... Who cares who wants to be a man who's actually a woman, or vice versa, whatever. But it's a person who lives as a member a person who lives as a transgender, a person who lives as a member of a gender other than their assigned one at birth based on anatomical sex. Yeah, okay. Anatomical. A trans person. So trans is the preferred terminology. When you talk about transgender people, it's just like, oh yeah, that person's trans. Okay. I'll typically call somebody transgender mostly because I don't feel like dealing with anybody possibly saying, oh, what are you, transphobic? Which brings us to our next one, transphobic. The discrimination or fear of against trans people, hatred of them. I'm not a transphobic person. I don't give a shit whether somebody's trans or not. You know, if you want to dress up in whatever you want to, go ahead. There's one thing I have been neglecting on saying, is that there comes with a but. You can do whatever you want, but don't expect people to just immediately just say, you know what? That's okay. Like, don't immediately expect people to agree with what you want to do. They're idiots, and it's your life. You can do whatever you want, and they shouldn't have to. But there's the freedom in this country doesn't allow you or doesn't allow them to, how should I put this? It doesn't put a safeguard on. You're allowed to do whatever you want, and without any critical or scrutinizing going against you and saying, hey, maybe we don't agree with what you're doing. Unless it's against the law, like pedophilia. Like, I don't know what's wrong. I just like to fuck other kids, you know? No, that's wrong. That's wrong. Don't have sex with children and you get thrown in jail. But things that aren't against the law, you know, as long as it doesn't fall into like, as long as it doesn't fall like a strike against the law or whatever, like you can do it, it's fine. Just don't expect everybody to be like, I'm okay with that, because people are allowed to have their freedom and opinions on whatever they feel. I just don't like the idea that somebody's going around, it's like, well, you can't feel that way about me because it hurts my feelings. It's like, they can think whatever they want. Now, in a professional environment, I think that it's important to separate your personal beliefs and leave them at the door when you go to work. Like, I don't talk that much about my beliefs, or sometimes I may even lie about them and say, yep, I agree with what you're saying, just to kind of end the conversation or dismiss it, because it's I don't want to get into a squabble with my coworkers. I don't want to I don't want to get in a fight with them, because it's counterproductive to what we're doing there. We're doing work, we're there for work, we're there to get paid for the work we do. Why are we arguing about this right here, right now? And you know, if you want to do that, by all means. But I typically try to avoid it, because I am a very non-confrontational person. I typically just avoid things. Be like, oh, I'm not going to confront that. That's too much work. I just kind of lower my head and kind of just shuffle through the crowd and hope nobody notices me. That's typically the kind of person I am. And the idea of somebody, like, you get upset by what somebody says. It's like, well, that's life, you know. It's what you have to deal with. You have to grow up and be an adult. And if somebody says something that you don't like, or you hate, and you're like, ugh, I don't like this feeling, you gotta deal with it, you know. That being said, bullying is a problem in this country that honestly I don't think is ever going to be fixed, because it's tinkering with human nature, and human nature doesn't usually change over time that much. It changes every once in a while, but for the most part, we are who we are, you know? As people, we're greedy, we're selfish, we're violent, we're very, we're driven by love, we're driven by fear, we're driven by so many things. This is getting off track, so I'm gonna move on. It seems we've gotten to the end. We only got 2 left that I have deemed important. One is called Two-Spirit. Is an umbrella term for traditionally used by Native American people who recognize individuals who possess qualities or fulfill roles of both genders. So it's basically Native American, gender neutral. Dumb. Z or Z. Alternative pronouns. Okay, yeah, these were the pronouns I was thinking about earlier. Where they talk about pronouns, and it's like you expect these people to actually remember or learn about what you're talking about. And it's just like, not everybody's gonna take the time to learn this. It's kind of dumb. And it's just extra work that's meaningless. This was, in hindsight, a waste of time, but I had fun going through the whole list. Let's see what time we're at. We're almost there. We're almost at that. So I guess let's find something else to talk about. Let's look for another list or something. Here we go. StopHomophobia.com. This one is like, yeah, these are a lot of the terms that I was looking at. Some of them are a little different. This list is a lot shorter. Let's read some things about homophobia. Top tricks to beat the trolls. We suck at dealing with trolls and abuse on the platform that we've sucked at it for years, wrote Dick Costello, former CEO of Twitter, in a memo which he leaked to the press in 2015. It's no secret that the rest of the world talks about it every day. Well, here's the thing about dealing with trolls and abuse on a platform, is that what is defined these trolls and defined abuse. Because honestly, I take a very Wild West approach to people's opinions. Anything goes. If you want to say something, say it. Just remember that when you say it, don't expect to be praised across the board. Everybody's like, yes, I agree with you saying, I think you're right. Like, imagine if I said something like on Twitter, like, all black people should die. Why? Because they're black. If I said something like that on Twitter, I'm sure there would be a few people out there that would agree with me. But not everybody would agree with me. Most people would call me a terrible bigot and that I should die or something or go to hell. And then I get angry and upset, like, why didn't these people praise me for my stupid fucking idea? It's because everybody has opinions, everybody has beliefs, And not everybody is going to be easily persuaded, no matter how good of a place you're coming from. You're trying to spread the message of stopping homophobia, but some of these people just have opinions that being gay is wrong, and those people are idiots and the bigots, and they will hopefully one day not exist anymore. But for now, these people are here, and you have to deal with them. And you have to deal with them in the sense where you either argue with them or you just don't pay attention to them. Most people just don't pay attention to them. I typically, when I see something like this, I mostly just laugh and make fun of them, to be honest. But these people, it's not right to silence them. As much as I don't like them, I would never silence a person just so that my message can be heard louder. You know, it's wrong to do that. Even if the people that in the message that they're speaking is completely wrong and horrible, they have the right to express that. Because if we just start picking away at anything that we deem unworthy to be on the internet or to be heard by the people of the world, then who's to say we can't just duct tape everything we don't agree with? It's like, okay, we'll stop with these guys, but we won't do it to anybody else. And then something else comes along, it's like, I don't really disagree with that. Block it, remove it, delete it, censor it. It's wrong. It's wrong to do that. That is one of my strongest. These trolls, these abusers, they are bad people, or they're people with senses of humor you don't agree with. But that doesn't give you the right to just silence them. You either deal with them yourself on a personal level, like you just put the mute on them. But you can't like go around saying, hey, we need to get this person's thing deleted because we don't agree with what they're saying. I think that's wrong. I think that's very wrong to do. Don't feed the trolls. Trolling is one of the rare problems to be handled by ignoring it. Yeah, okay, whatever. So you're ignoring it. If they're trying to be funny, your willingness to rate as the bait provides a punchline. Click those report buttons. Okay. Think before you speak. Yeah, I've never done that in my life. That's so gay. Negatively affects LGBT students. Okay, so I've said this more than once in my life, and I remember seeing a commercial with like a famous woman celebrity. It might have been like Taylor Swift or something, I don't know. And she comes in, and these two kids are just in there, and they're like, wow, this shirt's pretty gay, you know? And she's like, when you say gay, do you realize what you say? Or something like that. And to me, context is everything. When you're saying words. So when I say something, when I usually say, oh, that's gay, I usually am meaning it in a derogatory term. I say it because I'm part of an older generation, probably the last generation, that will ever say something like that. When I was a kid, we used to say it all the time, like, oh, that's gay. I don't really say it now, I just say that's retarded. Because, unlike being gay, it sucks to be retarded. Like, I probably pissed off a bunch of people saying that, but it's true. It sucks to be retarded. It doesn't suck to be gay. You're probably sucking something when you're gay, but that's a different story. I don't know. I don't really use that term anymore. So yeah. What else is there? What else is there? Throwing out. What is this? What is this Bible verse? What? In the great words and wisdom of George Takei. Oh my. Yeah, that's George Takei. But what does it has to do? What does that have to do with that Timothy Bible verse or whatever? Does George Takei not like gay people? Or does he like people? Or is he gay? I don't know. I'm gonna look this up now. Timothy chapter 5 verse 8. Anyone who does not provide for their relatives, and especially for their own household, has denied their faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Okay. Provide what? Like, just provide things? Okay. Is worse than an unbeliever, so... God says gay is wrong. Well, the whole Christian religion thinks, like, Christians or Catholics, they think homos are and all the gay people out there, that they're going to hell because they're gay. I don't know if they're going to hell or not. I don't really know, because the Christians and the Catholics, they don't know that either. That's just something that was written down in a book a long time ago. But they change it a lot. They change things. Like, the Vatican changes things and how they interpret things from the Holy Bible all the time. Like, purgatory used to be a thing that existed, but now it doesn't exist in the Catholic faith anymore. Because they just said, you know what? No, purgatory doesn't exist. There's only heaven or hell. Get over it. And it's just like, well, wait a minute. But you said purgatory was something. And it's just like, no, now it's not. So, who knows? In like 50 years, they might even just rewrite the Bible and just say, yeah, it's okay to be gay. Because we want to stay mainstream with the rest of the... world. The gay Holocaust. Oh boy, this ought to be good. Blah blah blah. I didn't live that long. He lived only till... Oh wait, no. He lived a decent amount of years. He was born prematurely. I don't even know what... I guess he... Oh, he came out of the closet in like 1998, I guess, right before the turn of the century. And I guess he died because, people hated him because he was gay. So the gay Holocaust is talking about, like, all the times people were killed because they were gay. Discrimination has happened over history. I'm getting kind of tired of this topic. Ugh. Well, you know what? I'm gonna wrap this up because I'm tired of looking at this stuff. It's honestly just made me upset and made me question a lot of things in life. And yeah, I don't hate anybody from the LGBT community. If they can live their life however they want, that's their prerogative. I don't really care. I'm not going to use their dumb terms or whatever. I'm not going to do any of that dumb shit. Because it has no meaning or effect on my life. And I don't care. Because mostly I'm just selfish. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Have a good day. Thanks for listening. See you on the next episode.